Hello, I'm Dan, and you are watching my very first off-the-cuff reaction slash review. I don't know what we're calling this, but it's my thoughts on Cloak and Dagger Season 1, Episode 3, Stained Glass. This was a really interesting follow-up to a two-part premiere last week, and one that I did not see coming. It was a very weird episode, and I wonder how general audiences will take this one, because I feel like it was a strange choice to follow up what was a very strong premiere with something that was very out there and in no way, and it was probably a lot of people had trouble connecting with. It was a very dream sequence heavy episode, and for me, I thought that it was a little too early for them to do an episode like this. It's kind of a big trope on a lot of shows, especially anything with sci-fi or fantasy elements or whatever, to have the sort of, oh, I dreamed this thing and it has these greater character and symbolic meanings, and I'm going to go through this like weird, metaphysical journey. And it felt just a little too soon. I feel like those episodes are tough in general because it's hard not to feel like everything that's happening in them is inconsequential and just kind of, to a certain degree, random. Now, obviously, the general bigger messages are what make those episodes worth it, even though they might be sort of slow and they might seem like what you're actually watching is somewhat inconsequential because it's out of the real world. But what really roots those things are when you really care about the characters and the situations and the larger journeys they're going through. Now, I feel like I care about these characters. I care about Tandy. I care about Tyrone. But I don't know that I care about them enough to have jumped into this episode so early on in the series. It did feel slow, and it made me just be like, I just want to see their life, because I think that what I really connected with in those first two episodes was the realism and the humanity behind it. And yeah, okay, I'm seeing the greater messages of them learning to fight back against their weaknesses, that Tandy's going to have to stand and fight, whereas Tyrone has to learn to not just fight and to use his brain and to look for other avenues and to maintain some control over himself. I think that's interesting, and I think it's interesting how that connects them, and the symbology of Christianity and the voodoo stuff was interesting, and I definitely, giving Evita that side of it made her a lot more interesting. But yeah, generally I'm just like, I just wanted to see them interacting this episode, and instead we got this metaphysical thing, and it just kind of took me out of the excitement of where I was. It felt like a stopgap to get us back to basically the point that I thought we were going to be at the beginning of this episode, which is our two leads actually having a conversation. Now, does it make some sense that like things went directly from, the beginning of this episode and her trying to leave again? Sure. But I don't know. It just didn't personally work for me that well. I'm still really excited about the show. I'm still really excited to see more. But it felt like a weird sidestep that we didn't necessarily need. I'm interested to see if other people agree or disagree with me on that one. We have Tandy getting this concussion, and then she goes back home, and I'm like, okay, maybe I missed something. Is it just because the gas ran out? Is it because the car was breaking down? Either way, why did she decide to go back home first? Is it just that she was so out of it? I feel like there are other places, like you can go into like a public bathroom and like, I don't know. It just felt like a strange turn of events, because given that she was so strongly against going back there and so strongly be like, I'm leaving Liam behind, I'm getting out of here. So, I mean, she still gets on the bus, but I felt like I was missing something, and maybe it was just that she was out of it because of her head. And then, of course, there's the whole voodoo thing, which, again, I think added something to Evita and made her more than just like, oh, she likes the boy. But, and that was hard for me to connect with, because I'm like, well, obviously Tyrone and Tandy are going to eventually commingle. And so it's hard for me to care about this random girl whose entire purpose seems to be flocking after Tyrone. But I think they provided some charisma here. They gave her some interesting backstory and all that stuff. And I really liked her tour guide thing. I just felt the actress did a good job with it. And then we're introduced to this new thing of her aunt. which is interesting. And I definitely, my favorite thing I think from the aunt is the reveal of the voodoo doll and how that's being 3D printed throughout the episode. And I just think that the intros to these episodes have been really interesting. The cinematography, the how they do things out of focus and are sort of playing with your expectations of scale and things like that, I thought was really cool. I think the music's done really well in the show, and the acting was still really strong. So there's a lot of things to really like there. I do think part of my other issue with the whole dream sequency thing of it all was that there's this thing in writing that I don't know if some people might know about, is this idea of double mumbo jumbo, which is a term, silly term, where it's like you got this one crazy thing. So right, this world, in this show, the first two episodes, like the crazy thing is they have powers, but everything else seems pretty realistic. So I can let myself suspend my disbelief about the powers, be like, well, that's a crazy thing in this real world. But then when you throw in like voodoo magic and like cleansing baths, it suddenly feels like we're not. It's too many different things to try to hold on to feel like you're still rooted in reality. That's just how I felt. The barrier for that for people is different for everybody. So again, interested to see what people think. But to me, this was a strange sidestep, not my favorite episode, definitely my least favorite episode of the three so far. But I'm hoping to get back on track next week. I did think there were some interesting side things with the cop and with the fact that she actually pieced together that Tandia was a victim and how they were able to connect over that. And we'll see where that relationship might go going forward, especially because now the cop can see that the guy who killed Tyrone's brother, he's as a crooked cop. He gets an idea of that too. I thought that was good. So we'll see where things go with Liam. We'll see where things go with the family. Certainly there's something going on with Tyrone's mom. I want to know more, and I want to know more about this voodoo doll thing, because at least that's like, oh, maybe she's a villain. That's kind of interesting and intriguing, and it was a creepy imagery for sure. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and let me know if you want me to keep doing these review react thingy-majiggies that I'm doing after the episode's air. I can't necessarily say that I'm going to be able to do one of these every week the way I do with the 100, but I'm enjoying the show, and I wanted to get one out there and see what people thought. So comment down below, questions, comments, theories, all those fun things. Please subscribe to the channel, and I hope you're doing okay.